You're watching Every Day's a Saturday, USMC veteran. Let's go, baby. And here's your host, Brian. And what's going on, friends and family? Thank you guys so much for joining me on another great day, another great interview. I'm super excited for my next guest. But before we get to the next guest, let's talk about some great things. As you guys know, we have been recently added to Reese Across America radio. If you guys would like to check that out, I know you guys on the audio side, go to reaseacrossamerica.org/radio. And you'll be able to check the show out on Saturdays. I believe they're playing it on, it's 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's either 8 or 9 a.m. I'm out to verify that for sure. But definitely go give them a follow and give them a like. We appreciate being with a whole bunch of great other podcasts as well. So, yeah. And you know what? My next guest, guys, I've been excited to have this dude come on here. I've met him through, mutual friends on Facebook, and then just seeing the amazing art this guy does. And that's why right behind me, I will forever have Chesty Pooler on my back because of my boy, Don. And I am, like I said, I'm excited to have him on. He's a Marine veteran. Just his art talks to me and my wife too. We both just have fallen in love with his art, and even my kid, he's just like, oh my gosh. So I've never been much of an artsy kind of person, but as I've gotten older, I've really taken the time to start slowing my life down, really paying attention to like things like art and the colors in the field and smelling the flowers, so to speak, type of thing. Life is definitely starting to slow down, and I'm really starting to appreciate the smaller things in life. And, the quicker you can do that in life, I feel like, man, you really kind of get a one up. Sometimes it takes us forever, and some of us take, a little bit longer than others. But anyways, let's not let my, guest sit back there any longer. Let's get him on here to talk all about the great things. He's Don, a.k.a. Fantom Squirrel. What's going on, brother?
What's up, brother? How are you today?
Man, I'm just peachy, and I'm even more excited to have you on, bro. We've gotten to be quite the buddies on Facebook, got to know each other. You are now, you always have a home here on Every Day's a Saturday. You are an official sponsor of Every Day's a Saturday. And like I said, man, forever blessed me with this painting right here. I mean, I can't tell you, everybody that sees it's just like, wow. They're so amazed, bro, because you're just so talented, and look at all the stuff behind you. I mean, you just, like I said, I'm excited for you to come on and give us the spiel about yourself and have a good conversation with you, brother. But now the floor is all yours, man.
Well, Brian, it's definitely a pleasure to be here and an honor. And one of the things that I like to say up front is that, man, this is just so not about me. Right. And Valkyrie and what we do, it's just so not about me. I'm not an important Marine. I'm not a particularly special Marine. I'm proud that I can call myself one because I think like most Marines, it's the one thing I've wanted to be associated with for as long as I can remember. I can't remember a time when being a Marine wasn't part of my identity. And so when I got started first with Valkyrie, we kind of, I just wanted to paint. It was just kind of a sideshow. I mean, I kind of grew up doing artwork. I was born in Dallas, Texas. I lived in a whole bunch of different family. I was kind of rowdy, and I'm autistic. I didn't learn that until I became an adult. It explains so much of my life and so much of my experience that it's a really key concept in looking back and how I reflect. And so one of the things I basically learned that I was autistic midway through life. And so you being the parent of an autistic child, you have a special connection to what that means and what it means just to even be able to communicate. Right.
Absolutely.
autistic people have, I think one of our major obstacles to overcome is our ability to communicate. And it's because we have a brain that if you ever have the chance to look at Temple Grandin's brain scan, which I think I've sent you, you can see there are about 24 to 27 neural connections for every one in a normal human brain. And so it's like the brain is wired to overamp, right? And whereas what's funny is you see in the news these days with especially, I don't vote, I don't really participate in any of that stuff, but I do get upset when I hear RFK talk about autism, because this is a cat that obviously doesn't know anything about it, right? So you can be wherever you're at politically. I'm not political at all. I decided to opt out when I decided that it was important for me to be able to paint anything for anyone. There were a lot of things I had to disassociate from, including self, right?
Right.
So one of the things I do when I look back, I adopted the nom de plume, the pen name of Fantom, for a couple of different reasons. But one of the most important ones, is the conquering of my own ego, and my separation from who I was when I, at that very clear period when I can look back and say, this is when I kind of became me. And who I was prior to that and who I am after are very different people. And it's a lot of that has to do with the identification of, all that brought me there, all the things I needed to conquer, and who I actually wanted to be. And whether we like it or not, we can't really hold on to the past in the way that normal people do as an autistic person, just because my memories don't work the same. Like I've noticed just in conversation, I'll be having conversation with people, and the way my brain puts stuff into files is different. I didn't understand this until my response to something, if I don't understand it well, is to become educated on it, right? And so when of course, they had to prove to me that I was autistic, because our generation, and I hope you'll pardon the PC-ness, but if it's me, I think I can say whatever I want. We thought autistic was retarded. And so when they told me that, I was like, no. I haven't been that my whole life and didn't know, right? And not only that, but I've been in college since I was 13. So like, to me, I was like, there's not a mental disability here. And they're like, no, new studies are showing that it's not that what it actually is the very cusp of an evolutionary step. I can accept that. But jumping back in, I kind of bopped around from family member to family member. My granddad was a Marine on my dad's side, and then on my mom's side also. And then my step granddad was in the Navy first. He got polio, during that time period, and he had to be out of he was still kind of in the Navy, but he was, getting treated for polio. And then his first hitch ended, and so he finished up his college while in the hospital, and got his doctorate, medical doctorate, and then joined the Air Force as a pilot. Believe it or not, he became a pilot of the F-4 Phantom.
Wow.
Which is kind of crazy how that circles around, and how life works like that. I didn't give myself the nickname Phantom, so like when you figure out where that all came from, it's kind of funny how it all worked out. But he became a flight surgeon and was flying the F-4 and all that kind of stuff. So my very first air show was watching his retirement flight, and seeing Papa get into an F-4 when you've just, been to, some different, just see him as Papa and rip the fucking sky apart, right? Like, it was the craziest shit. I mean, I knew Colonel Horn, right? And I knew what he was all about, kind of, but the minute he gets into that aircraft, that's not who he is anymore. He's now this being that's different. Yeah. And so, what I love about the Marine Corps, especially, and different than any other service, is that it makes us into that kind of dual animal in a different kind of way than anybody else gets to experience. And one of the things that's always been funny to me is because people ask me, they're like, how did you deal with autism in the military? And I was like, one, I didn't know. And then two, or at least not particularly, but there were signs along the way. So like in boot camp, and I went in 97, right? I joined in 1997. And I was one of those cats that couldn't fucking wait because I'd gone to the Marine Military Academy in high school, where I did high school and college, right? And so when I'm getting out, other cats, MMA is down in Harlingen, Texas. It has both college and high school classes, right?
Wow.
And so at the same time that other freshmen were taking, just your regular freshman classes, I have always excelled in language. And so I was taking German down there, and then I was in invertebrate zoology and microbiology college courses. And so having that availability to me with the way my brain works, it was perfect, because I'm not addicted to watching sports or playing video games. I'm addicted to education. So much so that like buddies have called me like Combat Sheldon, right? Like from Big Bang Theory, nerd Marine, basically. The nerdy part of the Corps I never had any trouble with.
I want another MCI.
Yeah. Pass it on. Yeah. I was, to be honest with you, I was the cat that's passing out all the NCO and NCI stuff.
Who wants me to do their MCIs? Huh?
Yeah. We could talk. Yeah, let's get a couple bucks together. Let's get a couple cases.
Right.
So I thought we would kind of let the conversation develop a little bit organically, and the reason is I've done a lot. And I don't like the conquering of ego is such an important part of what I do now, that running around and just talking about all my diplomas and all this other stuff, it just doesn't sound like me anymore. On the same token, like I said, I did stuff in the Marine Corps and post Marine Corps that the full breadth of the story will be here all day. And so I thought it's usually more, and I thought we're probably going to wind up having a few conversations if I had to guess anyway. This won't be our only shot. So
yeah, 100%.
Let's have some fun and just kind of develop it a little bit. That way I'm not yapping too much and getting lost. Being autistic, I will go down a rabbit trail that we won't return from. So I want to make sure that I'm staying with you, brother.
Don't even worry, brother. I feel like a lot of guys come on here and do the same thing. So I mean, don't you worry, man. I think it's just something that happened to us. But yeah,
that's another thing.
Yeah, man. No problem, man. We could do it totally, however you need it to go. But we'll keep you on path.
Yeah. One of the things that I like, in particularly that we talked to, we both talked on the podcast, The Lost Art and stuff like that with our other brother, right? And Andrew has a cool way. You have a cool way of being a part of something that's very, very important to me. And I do want to take just a second to talk about soldier suicide, right? My brother was a suicide, and he was a Coast Guard guy, right? And he, we make jokes about puddle pirates and all that shit. And believe me, that's fun. But he was a warrior. And I think that a lot of his life was very challenging because although neither one of us knew that I was autistic, he was fighting a little bit in my shadow. I've always had a mentality that will outstudy you. And so when I would apply that to sports, I would excel at sports. When I would apply that to school, I would excel at school. What I've not ever been good at is having like personal relationships that are like deep.
Sure.
Believe it or not, Brian, me having conversations with you to the degree we have, and of course we're Marines, so we're already family, but like you're a best friend in the way my brain works because I'm willing to talk to you. I know that sounds goofy, but most people don't have access. And you'll notice I have to do a lot of throat clearing about, since we've gained such a big following. I mean, we sell our artwork, worldwide now, and it's rad, but at the same time, I'm still learning how to handle that.
Right.
Because
I get it.
Yeah, because I don't respond to, people sending me messages and shit like that. And then I have played with, I paint live a lot. So I've done that with big bands like, Polaris and we did a piece for Aerosmith. We've done a whole bunch of rad stuff. And so I've been up there signing autographs and done all that stuff, been in the green room and done all that kind of crazy band stuff. But where I've always been actually pretty good is I know how to be distant, right? And so I've learned by hook or by crook, that distance is a bonus. Boba Fett didn't become Boba Fett because he was in every movie. It's because nobody knew who the fuck he was. And so so the reason I applied Fantom, other than being hard to get a hold of and being a ghost of who I was, is to kind of remind me in business what's important with how I do stuff. Like, so artistically speaking, I want to be heard, right?
Sure.
As an artist, and then even autistically speaking, I want to be heard as an autistic person. So my battle with communication is usually trying to form and get stuff out in a way that feels like it's going to land right. And I will overtool it a lot. And the reason for that is because I've got so much experience of not doing well there, that like now I have become very used to like what I have to do to push it out there and, make it edible to a normal human being. Because what's funny is when autistic people meet, and I didn't really get this until I started meeting other autistic people and being a part of the community, we have a language that we don't speak. Right.
Dude,
And
you
so
guys make connections differently than others. Like, you talked about the reciprocal stuff. It's all, and I know this because I have an autistic stepson and I've gotten to learn a lot about it. And I can see he's on he's nonverbal. So his way of communicating is a lot harder for him. And he gets even more frustrated than most, probably because he can't always let us know exactly what he's feeling. We have an inclination of what's going on because, especially through the years, we've definitely been able to hone in on how he's communicating without him absolutely, communicating. One thing I've always learned about, man, is that, and I think that's why the puzzle piece is even part of, the autistic thing is learning how to try to make those connections. Right. And, you might even have the two same, pieces that can fit right in, but they might not know how to put that right in there. You know what I mean? So you guys make connections just completely different than others, which there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that some people don't understand that, And,
yeah. Well, it was weird for me because like even in the Marine Corps. So what I was getting at earlier is I joined in '97. I went to boot camp right after high school. And so like the day after, right. And so I even told my girlfriend, who wound up being my first son's mother, I was like, hey, we're breaking up. I'm going to boot camp. If they wanted me to have a wife, we all heard it. They'd issued me one. Right. And so she just said no. I don't know why, but I'll get this thing for redheads. My old lady now is a redhead. I think it's being a Mexican makes me have trouble with pale skin and red hair. I'm crazy about it. But what's funny is she said no, and I'm the kind of guy that's going to respect that. That's so bold and so shitty. Like, okay. And so, dude, they tell you not to fucking get married and all that kind of shit for a reason, right?
Yeah,
There's a reason. It's because that attachment is hard, right?
Yeah.
And when you have those attachments and you're trying to do boot camp or you're trying to do whatever, it's a fucking hard attachment. Yeah.
Yeah. Never worry about Jody, bro. You know what I mean?
6'4". Yeah. Jody ain't never been whooped before till he met me. Yeah.
Wait till I get home, Jody.
Yeah. And so, it's funny because I was that cat that the DI came around third phase and he's like, hey, we're taking you with us. You got to take a test. And it was the Intel test and IQ test. Right. And so, so they will go around.
Did they just happen to see something in you that sets you off differently? Well,
always
see some of your test scores or something.
Yeah, that high school stuff and college stuff, early on. Plus, when they're like, hey, you could pursue officer candidate school with college and stuff. And
right.
I'm like, I wear stripes, which I respect anybody that wears bars and flowers and oak leaves and all that, eagles and all that shit. I'm happy for you, but that's not me. I'm a stripe guy.
He never wanted that butter bar.
No, I know where I belong. I met. Like I said, I had a grandfather that was an O-dog, and then I had a grandfather that was an enlisted Marine. And you see one with his buddies, right, playing golf at the golf course, doing officer stuff. And then you see the fucking wild men that were grunts and Marine devil dogs that wanted to hang out with my other granddad. And I'm like, that's that group of fucking pirates is who I belong with. There's something very special that the Marine Corps does, and why we're called Uncle Sam's Misguided Children, I think, other than the fact that we literally started in a pirate bar, is the fact that we take the most rabble-rouser, rebellious shitheads, right, and we somehow get them to fight for the same thing. And yeah, it starts off very hard, and that's on purpose, right?
Right.
At the Marine military, so I basically went to boot camp 3 fucking times, right? Because I had to go first down there for the summer camp, which is just for like crazy kids that they want to try it out. They send you down there and you do basically 3 months of boot camp at the Marine Military Academy.
Oh,
yeah,
dang.
yeah. At the time, I don't know if it's changed much, but how Mothers of America have affected all the services. So yeah,
right.
you can bet. Yeah. At the time, we had Vietnam era sergeant majors running that fucking place. So yeah, warheads. I mean, we had Sergeant Major Bear in Echo Company, and he was a fucking bear. I mean, he was a monster, right? He was badass. We had Gunny Wisnowski, who was known there for having shot a shotgun in the barracks at a kid's radio for being too loud. So, and these are, I was 12, when I went down there, dude. So, for summer camp. So I completed that part. And then, of course, they welcomed me back for school. Well, guess what, buddy? You got to go to boot camp again, because not everybody's been to summer camp. So boot camp number 2, right? So then when I go to the actual Marine Corps, I've been to boot camp twice.
Wow.
So I was guide.
You're ready to go, man. You're probably the guide or a squad leader at this rate.
Yeah, I was guide in a week, and then I stayed guide. I was the only guide that kept
get fired,
it.
Huh? Damn, dude, nice.
Not even for shits and giggles. They usually do that too.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah, me and Gentile. I was in 11-11. Gentile was in 11-12, and he was a badass. He was actually from Illinois, Naperville. I still remember because the graduation ceremony, he was right before me. And so anyway, they busted him down and like put their platoon shithead in that place, like to kind of mess with him in 3rd phase. I won every pugil sticks and like all that little boxing competition, all that little bullshit, right? Because I'd had experience again from MMA. I knew how to make my rack when I fucking got there. So at the time when all the other boots were like, fuck, like losing it in their head, like learning how to tie their shoes again, I'd been there twice. And
you already had that mind game kind of under control. You kind of already knew the game.
You're going to laugh, but the only thing that was fucking different is that the Marine drill instructors were saying daggone all the time.
Yeah, right.
Sergeant Major Bear was like, you motherfucking piece of garbage. Get over here. I'm going to rip your fucking head off and tear your anus out of your mouth. Like he was very rugged. So these Marine DIs had nothing on fucking old salty ass fucking sergeant majors from Vietnam and shit. And so I wasn't frazzled much, right? And I kind of knew how that game worked. So when it was time to punish the guide on the quarterdeck, I'd just go there way before they'd ever call anybody. I'd just be waiting. And so now my J hat was a guy named Joe Jacobs. He and I are still best friends, right? So from DI to friend to lifelong friend, I think that's one of the coolest fucking relationships you can have. And so, and that's a whole story in and of itself, right?
A lot of people don't end up, like even connecting back with their drill instructors. I mean, sometimes you get lucky and you run into them, in the fleet, but it's a rarity.
Uh-huh.
And dude, they have so many cycles that they send through, like, for them sometimes to know who a Marine, it's it's pretty wild.
Well, and that's why, like, I try to be careful because, like, what a lot of people don't see is like the way setup works in my life is usually the same way luck works in regular life. I've been applying something for a long time, and then at the right time, those skills land. Boom, right? So if you imagine, I went to boot camp twice, right? And I was at the Marine Military Academy. I'd already learned all the knowledge. I knew all the fucking general orders. All that shit was already embedded. So when you get to boot camp, if you got a cheat code,
Yeah,
You look
right.
like a
You get a little bit of a
fucking
one-up.
warlord. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even DIs from the other fucking platoons were like, fucking Howell's a beast, that kind of thing. So, and I'd done pupil sticks before, right? So I knew fake low, hit high, fake high, hit low. Boom, throw them off the fucking bridge over troubled water. Bye-bye, son. I won that one too, right? When it came to the Thunderdome, I knew exactly what to fucking do. I hit that doorway when you come running down, and I just fucking dove, pugil stick straight out, right? Dude comes around the corner, right in the fucking chest, right? So instead of, because I'd done this shit, so I had cheat codes, right? And so
Yeah,
what
you
ends up
did.
happening though is you look like a bad motherfucker, right? You look like a bad motherfucker. And my DIs loved having that guy as their guide. And so,
Who had the damn manuscript in his pocket the whole time?
yeah. So what looks like bad motherfucker winds up being brain. And that's life in general. I've got a whole story about that story. So anyway, I was pulled away to do that test because of a combination of ASVAB scores, which it's always bumping to people that know theirs. I never was told mine. So I have no idea where I actually placed it on that, but I guess good. But I always tell folks, because people will be like, dude, I got a 97 on the ASVAB. Like every guy you meet, every dude you meet. And you're like, okay, cool, man, that's fine. I don't know.
I'll be honest with you, mine was horrible, right? You know, I went in with that like kind of open contract a little bit because I just was like, I'll just join, like, oh, dumbass. I ended up in supply at least. I was like, not bad.
That's better than cooks, man.
I was kind of worried about getting a cook. I ain't gonna lie. Nothing wrong with being a cook, guys. I ain't trying to talk shit. That wasn't for me. I would have been eating the food.
Those dudes are badasses. Let me just tell you, because their fucking hours suck. I mean, they go to one.
That's the other thing. Yeah, they're up before everybody else, couple hours, because they got to get that morning chow going.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I'm a grunt. I'm a grunt bitching about their hours. So
so you ended up going 0311. Is that what you did? Yep.
Yeah, I was 03 guy. Went over, did some time with the LAR with Third out there in 29 Palms. And
the stumps, huh?
Yeah. And, I bopped around a little bit too. Other than that, I got fapped out, and did some other kind of stuff like that. But my main spot was down there, and I was lucky because I didn't really know what any of the LAR stuff was. Like everybody else, I never really had any experience with that. And so when I graduated SOI, I was also company honor man, right? And so once you kind of get on that momentum train, you can keep that sucker going throughout the Marine Corps if you know what you're doing, right? So if you keep crunching that shit, they'll keep pushing you. They like to see that shit. So they just told me, hey, you're going to be a lot of reconnaissance guy, today. So next thing I knew, we were on a bus down there to do some comm school and some other bullshit like that, which is cool, right? But like when you show up and you're a double honor man, they don't think of you as a cool guy in your unit.
Very well, huh? Yeah.
No, fuck no. They're like, oh, you must think you hot shit, and I'm not that guy. Like I will, if you meet me on paper, you're gonna imagine I think I'm hot shit, right? And because I now looking back on life, and we'll just take a quick detour. When I look back on, like, for instance, I'm a Freemason, I'm a Shriner. I got 32nd degree with the Scottish Rite. Like, I start something and then I just go all the way through it. And then, now I don't really go to the meetings and stuff like that, right? I got all the stuff, and then I was like, okay. I don't
understand it now.
Yeah, I don't continue, right? And so that can sound like somebody doesn't have like stick-to-itiveness or whatever, and maybe that's a little bit the case. But really, what's going on is once I've tasted where that's going to go, then I'm kind of that's enough for me. And it's like
if you don't feel like it's a fruitful ending, right? You why even keep going through the weeds and shit like just to do it because to do it. I imagine that, with your art, you love your art, bro. That's why it keeps drawing you back. That's something you want to do constantly, right? So I think you
Yeah,
just,
well,
when you realize that, hey, this isn't really going to have a fruitful end of the path. I think you save yourself a lot of time that a lot of people waste, if that
yeah.
makes any sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So like, it's kind of when I got out, I finished up my stuff for engineering, became an engineer with Brandt. Brandt's a big engineering firm, so especially in Texas. And so I did some time with Brandt. I switched over from the mechanical engineering side to the sales side. And we told this story earlier, but like, I'll just go ahead and tell it again because it's kind of part and parcel to the way my mind works. I'd been on the engineering side, and you go to these meetings to pitch. Brent does large mechanical systems, so air conditioners that are the size of school buses and stuff like that that go into high-rise buildings. And so, your drawings consist of stuff that builds those things out, right? And so once you kind of get the deal kind of going, the next step is to sell it to the customer, right? And
Yeah.
so we are the group that got Toyota to come to Texas, right? And we had to do that by like starting a political action committee and like doing some stuff that's way outside the box, right? Well, that having an autistic brain puts you right there. And so that test that we took in boot camp, it wound up being the Intel test, right? So and then an IQ test, right? And so they'll come back and share that stuff with you. They just tell you what they're going to do with it, right? And the thing that's funny is, and this, doesn't really go any further than this, but when somebody tells you, hey, we look for you guys, and you're like, what Mexican guys? And they're like, no, autistic people, and it's a joke in your head because it fizzles and doesn't do anything until later in life. All of a sudden, somebody's telling you are so autistic that it's ridiculous. You're at the level of competency that you're genius level autistic, right? And so when someone applies that word to you, and you've just done another IQ test and you're above 130, when you're a hitter in that way, you look at your own brain different with a different kind of value. Man, I just thought I was weird. I just thought I couldn't fit in anywhere. I just thought that I just only felt more comfortable when I'm reading a book about science or studying a foreign language. I speak the better part of 10 languages now, right? There's something super duper special when you bump into somebody and you can hammer out Russian and you make them feel at home. Like this happens in Hobby Lobby. This happens in all kinds of different places, right? You bump into somebody and you speak Russian, all of a sudden they're like, holy fuck, somebody speaks my language in this crazy place. And they're immediately off guard, right? So you can imagine in the talks with Toyota, when we're talking about bringing them to Texas from California, where their main headquarters was, aside from just getting the laws changed to make taxes easier on them, I speak Japanese. Right.
Damn, that's
And
wild.
so, right. And so, like, if you can hammer out Japanese with them, all of a sudden they don't care about anybody else. And that's what happened. So, the way I walked into that meeting with my boss and his
I'm
boss,
sure they're like, whoa,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because they were like, hey, do you want us to tell them? And I was like, give them no warning. And so we walked in, and I just kind of rolled my sleeves up, took my suit coat off, rolled my sleeves up, and I've got tattoos, right? So like that says something about you in a business meeting. It gives you an edge because most cats in those meetings are trying to keep it conservative to stay vanilla.
Sure. Right.
And so when you're that guy that doesn't look vanilla, they're like, okay, something's up. Who is this guy? And then in Japanese, I'm like, gentlemen, you can pretty much tell the other guys to leave now. And they did. That was such a ball move that they were like, yeah, the other salespeople can leave. They switched to English, and they let the other cats know, hey, we believe we need to speak with the company that knows enough about us as a company to bring a Japanese speaker that builds a trust that you can't build with words, and you can't build with trips to the strip club and other shit that you do in a sales thing. You can't build that shit. Other than to have a psychological edge, and man, language is a fucking edge. And I know now, looking back, that my connection to language has a lot to do with autism, right? because what do we already say? One of the biggest things about it is communication, right? And feeling like I couldn't I feel like I'm communicating more effective sometimes in a foreign language because I've had to learn every ounce of nuance and all that other stuff. Like, you can't Spanglish Mandarin, right? So if I want to ask you to speak Mandarin's right? And so, like, you see how you use your cheeks to do it? Like, you have to use your mouth all different, right?
Sure, right.
And you know, if to ask you if you speak Russian, right? Or right? And so you, again, using your mouth all different, right? And so, like, I always liked to mimic songs. I think we all sing songs in the car by ourselves, and we imagine we've got a good voice.
Right.
Yeah, like for me, I would like really try to find where they were at, like try to find Chris Cornell's voice, or I love Soundgarden. But like, and not necessarily land the voice, but like find that kind of tone wherever it fits with me.
Yeah.
And so when you kind of take that into foreign language, that's where you need to be. Because if you're worried about, saying "come pum crap" in Thai because the word crap is in it, you're going to laugh about that, right? You're gonna bump into that shit a lot,
Sure.
right? So if you can't switch gears in your head, you'll never get there. You'll never fucking get there.
It's a hard thing to do, man. I struggled learning Spanish. I mean, that was a rough language for me to learn. So it's not an easy thing for everyone. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, bro. We're kind of at that halfway point. When we come back, you did 4 and then you got out of the Marines, or did you do longer than 4?
Yeah, it's the hitch.
All right, cool. Then we'll talk about, what you did when you ended up getting out and how getting out was for you and all that good stuff. All right, we'll be right back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Join us for Hero Stock, a special event dedicated to honoring our veterans and first responders. Experience a day filled with incredible live music performed by those who served and protected our communities. Connect with our nonprofits dedicated to helping our heroes thrive. Discover the services available to support our veterans and first responders in their journey. Bring the whole family. Kids will love the fun activities designed just for them. Reconnect with your community and celebrate the courage and sacrifice of our heroes at Hero Stock. Join us for a day of music, support, and togetherness. Check us out today on www.herostock.org.
All right, and we are back. All right, Don, let's go ahead and kind of talk about, you did your 4. You're ready to get out. How did getting out look like for you? And what did you start doing when you got out? And kind of talk about, what you got going on now. And we'll talk more about the Valkyrie Arts, how you got there, and, and all that good stuff.
Well, so I think, like most Marines, one of the biggest things that we love to talk about is how you are a Marine from the day they put that EGA in your hand to the day you die. Whatever happens beyond that, I still think you're a Marine, right? Personally, an atheist, so I don't know what the hell happens, and that's really what an atheist is, right? So I don't have any idea. I say that I don't necessarily believe in the stories that we've been given, and beyond that, I just don't know. But I'll be a Marine wherever the fuck I land, right? Right. So, well, one of the things that's tough is that there's this gap between the end of your service and what you're used to as far as interaction with other human beings at a job site, right? No matter what job you do in the Marine Corps, you're at a job site, right? So, like, if you are a grunt and your job is kicking people's ass, got that? That's where I was, right? That's a fucking job too. And you get sick of that one, and you get sick of all the shit that's going on with it. You get tired of doing barracks duty. You get tired of doing all that other shit, right? It happens. So then you get out and you don't even know the degree that you're going to miss it. Yeah, I mean, you can't fucking fathom. You can't even fathom, because you've spent all this time
about your damn duty, have a duty.
Well, you spend all this time, like when you're doing steps and taps, like you spend all this time talking about and hearing about how it's so good out there, right?
Right.
Like, dude, yeah, man, a sergeant makes like 25 cents an hour in the Marine Corps, man. So fuck that. I'm getting, like you have these ways that you are trying to justify what you're about to do. And this is why when my son was like, Dad, he's in the Army now. He's like, Dad, yeah, be different. He's like, Dad, I'm gonna get out after my hitch. And I was like, you're gonna hate it. Don't. I was like, you don't. I was like, because he wanting to be so different than Dad, he joined Army Forward Observation, which they call reconnaissance there.
Yeah.
And his unit was disbanding after he was ready to get out. And so he was going to have to transfer somewhere or something else. Anyway, I was like, look, you can go and do what amounts to OJT on something that would cost you thousands of dollars to do out here. I said, so just dream up something. I said, what's something you've always wanted to do? And he's like, well, the medical field. I was like, dude, because autism is passed down, right? It's in the family and stays there because, like I said, they're now finding that it is not a disorder. What it is our body is beginning to adapt to all the extra we have coming at us all the time. By growing new neural connections, we are watching evolution happen. And the unfortunate truth about that is that Mother Nature's got one tool, and it's the mistake. So you get all kinds of different people along that spectrum of how that works within their body, right? And so that's what that looks like. It's nasty and dirty, just like the rest of evolution is. So he's got that working in him. And I'm like, dude, look, take that and apply it to something. And so he goes, and of course he excels at Army Field Medic School, and he's doing that now. Just saved his first life the other day and got his spurs. Yeah, which in Air Cav is a cool deal to get your spurs. It's like basically like a Ranger school.
Damn.
Yeah, and so like he's kicking ass there and doing well. But you get out and you have this crisis because who the fuck am I other than a Marine?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I know
identity crisis right off rip, right?
Yeah, exactly, dude. And so like you bump into civilians who they don't know what a corporal, sergeant, PFC, lance corporal, any of that. They don't know what the fuck that is.
Yeah.
They don't know any of the shit that you're used to kind of having available on you, right? So like when you're rolling through the gate, going to work, you got available who you are so that you're kind of treated in that way by the gate guards and other people that want to give you shit, and so like you're used to walking around with something you've earned on you at all times. And you have no rank structure out here in the civilian world, right? And you have no
that could give
authority.
A rank you were in the civilian world.
Yeah. And then you also had your social ability to take shit is about zero.
Yeah.
Your ability to have fuckers that are obviously stupid and not not Marines try to instruct you or talk down to you, like you've got none. You've got none of that, right?
Right. Yep.
And so that transition never fully happens, is what I'm convinced of, right? And that can be a good thing, and that can be a bad thing. I've done everything from get accolades to be in jail, right? I know what both feel like. And I'm grateful for both now where I'm at. I don't have a story that was easy success. I have a story that was, I don't know how to fucking quit anything. Yeah. All right. I learned that from the Marine Corps. You can't get that anywhere else.
Sure.
I haven't met other services that have anything but respect for Marines, even when they're talking shit.
Yeah.
There's a reason that look throughout history, okay? And especially in modernity, what other unit was given out of fear a nickname that held, right? Like Hounds of Hell. Die Teufelshunden is Hounds of Hell, like literally the devil's animals, right?
Devil dogs.
Yeah, and I love Devil Dog, and believe me, that's outstanding. But I mean, it's fucking Hounds of Hell in German, right?
Yeah, no, yep.
And so this is by their stormtroopers, like they're tough guys at Belleau Wood, and we all know this is Marines. We know the story. But who else? Did anybody call the Spartans anything different? No. No, we don't hear of a nickname that
Right.
this legendary unit was called by fearful enemies. We
Right.
have that. We have that. Only we. Right? And so there's something very, very, very extra special about being a Marine that that follows you everywhere you go. And so when you're trying to figure out who you are, especially immediately on the back end of your hitch, right? Or your career, whatever it winds up being, that immediate spot is who the fuck am I other than or in addition to? And when I can't take that thing and make it me, I am a Marine. We see, I also am an artist, right?
Yeah.
So even though I did engineering, I did a series of different like sales jobs. I mean, I would try all kinds of shit. Because like we were discussing, I don't have any trouble when something isn't the right fit walking away. And that looks good and bad when you look back on your history. It gives you both pride and regret. I can look back at my parenting situations. I'm just going to tell you right now, not great.
Yeah.
I was not meant to be a parent. I didn't want to. And I knew going into it, I wasn't going to do a good job with it. Autism doesn't make you very good at establishing those kind of things well, not early on. Me and my kids have relationships now that are better. And I don't mince words about the fact that I was not meant to be a dad and I was not good at it. I was very good at doing things with them, right? I can get the weekend with my son, we can go to an air show, that stuff's fine. And I can pass down the knowledge that I'm constantly trying to gobble up through all the different sources that I am so obsessed with that my schedule is like a religion to my autism, right? And so when people ask me about autism in the military, I'm like, they love it. I'm so addicted to schedule that like you have to break it to me. Like, and if and we've seen trying to just set this up. If one of those dominoes goes, it's a month before I can get it to line back up. And it's not because I'm being an asshole. It's not because of any other reason that every fucking morning, bar none, there are no days off in my schedule, right? So every morning I'm up at 01 to 02. And you've gotten messages from me at that point. And there's no such thing as a Sunday to me, right? There's no such thing as Saturday to me. So when they're like, hey, we need you to stay over at the ramp and work on this or whatever, I don't care. And so I'm that cat that everybody else is like, what the fuck? That guy's a robot. I hate working around him because he makes you look bad. He's willing to do. He's a kiss ass for that reason. I'm not kissing nobody's ass. I don't know the difference. I don't know what to do with myself when I'm not working.
Right.
When we would go to the bar, dog.
Busy.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. When we would go to the bar, I don't drink anymore. I'm fully sober, and believe me, it is a fucking public service. like for every Marine, it is a public service for Marines not to drink. But when I would go to the bar, I would always wind up getting bouncing jobs, dog. Right? Because I'm the guy that doesn't know what the fuck to do with himself there. Right. I look like a jock. And so like all the wrong women would always be attracted to me. Like gals that like guys that like football games and hot dogs, like gals that to most normal dudes would be an ideal woman. She likes watching football games, right? Yeah. I mean, my wife now has to drag me to go watch the Cardinals play because I don't fucking watch sports at all.
Right.
Like if you ask me my opinion, I've got no problem with, people that go to church, for instance, but that is a waste of my time. Right. And that's how it lands on me. And that sounds harsh, but it's because life is kind of, in a way, kind of binary in that way with regard to my time. Yeah, other stuff, great stuff. Yeah, you try to get me to go to your grandma's for Thanksgiving. Not that I'm an asshole. You'll find me weasel out of it. Right.
Yeah.
And
I get you.
Yeah, and part of my business now is doing live artwork, right?
Let's talk about your art right now. We're getting at the 10-minute mark, so let's start talking about that art now, man.
So, I've been doing art my whole life, and I decided that engineering wasn't cutting. I wasn't happy. I was making a lot of money. I mean, a lot more, the kind of money that I wanted to make. And I won't delve too deeply into that, but leaving that and leaving my whole 401k, everything behind to the wife that I had at the time, was appropriate because I knew what I was doing, right? And I didn't want it. So it wasn't cowardly. It was bold, right? It was living boldly. I told her, I said, I can't, this isn't me. All of it. I'm not going to leave you in a rut, but I'm not going to stay here anymore, right? Good, bad, ugly, right? That's how that thing works. So I left, went down to Houston, got my shit together, right? With drinking and stuff like that for the first time, and started doing art professionally. And on the side, I love physical jobs, right? So I'm very Marine man in that way. Like even now at my secondary job at Hobby Lobby, what I call the insurance job, it's physical. It's stockroom stuff, right? And so I love to get physical and stay in shape and that kind of thing. So I was a deconstruction foreman for Repurpose Depot. And I started Valkyrie down there because the idea of the Valkyrie herself being that god that kind of rescues the warrior off the battlefield that's earned it, right? Especially for anybody that has warrior ethos in them, we want to feel like we have, kind of earned it in a way. And so I like the idea of the Valkyrie of artwork kind of being the thing that saved me mentally and gave me that identity back that I needed to have as being able to be an artist and a Marine, right? And so I needed something that I could tie that tightly to me. And that's probably a little bit of insecurity attached with familiarity, but it's just the reality of what it is. And so now it's grown. We sell our artwork all over the place. We are now on our second 1,000 paintings, and we're at 892 in that second 1,000. And so
wow.
It's
You're
been
like
great. Do what?
You're like a machine pumping these things out, man.
Yeah, well, I tell people, like, if you can imagine each piece takes at least in the 12-hour range, you can see just how much is getting put into it, right?
Yeah.
Your piece to get it right, and I sketched it several times. Like, you're in about the 27-hour time frame, right? And so what's cool is when you buy art, you're buying a piece of a human being's lifetime. When you receive that gift, that's why my favorite gift to give is artwork. It's not to be braggadocious on, hey, here, I made this, think I'm cool. You can't get time back. You can get money back. You can get anything back. I can buy you the coolest Marine Corps trinket on the planet, and it will mean less because I just put money into it. But if I take it and I put my fucking time into that chesty puller, you know how it felt when you got it. I know how it felt when I gave it, right? Yeah. When I watched you pull that guy out and watched you enjoy that, like, that is why I fucking do it. The money is a side benefit, right? So, we've become now I'm the first Marine, and I'm getting chills, to ever paint at a Marine Corps ball. The only Marine in history to ever do that.
That's
right.
Wow. Man. That's great.
Yeah, and even though that's very much segmented into my little piece of the Marine Corps, in my little piece, that's the coolest thing you could possibly fucking be. Right?
No, man, that is, man. And because the Marine Corps is hard to penetrate with things, and even to open up to new things, right?
Yeah, and just the idea, like, if it wasn't for Major Orion, like, none of this would have transpired if it wasn't for my friendship with all the recruiters up at Springfield RS. But one of my best friends, Cody Pierce, Gunny Pierce, he was one of my best friends up there. He's been with me through good, through bad, through ugly. He has had several of my pieces, because I like to take one up there every year. It's just, I like the Marine Corps, and so, I like to support it
in
any way I can.
Marine Corps, bro. You love the Marine Corps, brother.
Yeah. You're fucking right. And so when he approached me about Major Orion wanting a piece for the HQ, I said, well, fuck it. Let's do a series and get it right. I said, if I'm going to do one, I'm going to get it right. And another buddy of mine, because he commented when I was talking to Major Orion about doing the series or whatever, another recruiting buddy of mine, Master Sergeant Wayne Burnham, he's like, get ready. He's like, Don's going to hit you so hard that you're going to have trouble selecting, right? And so they didn't select. They selected all of them. So now we've got almost 20 pieces in the Springfield, like this region of the United States headquarters. It's packed full with Valkyrie artwork. To go in there, brother. yeah, to go in there is not humbling to the ego. It feels outstanding, right? And so that is great. And then the idea that I got on this ego journey during all this stuff as it's kind of growing, it's perfect because I am in a position where what we do and what I encourage any Marine that comes in contact with one of our paintings that's Marine Corps, turn it around and sign it back there with me. They're pass downs, right? They're coated in resin so that they'll last for fucking ever, right? They're basically, if you turn around and wipe paint on that right now, you could Windex it off of there, right?
Yeah,
They're
no, this
made
is
for that.
amazing. It is amazing, the quality
And
of it all. I mean,
yeah, I appreciate that. And then to be able to share in the experience of what it means to have your name keep going on with that. I don't want that to just be me because it doesn't feel right. Marines are team players because that's how we're fucking built, right?
right.
We are the Marines, right? Are all of us. And so the coolest thing in the world is at that birthday ball where here I am being the first Marine to do something, which good luck ever getting that to happen in your lifetime, right? Uh,
No, facts, man.
yeah, yeah,
Like you said,
and
it's hard
now,
to penetrate the Marine Corps and do
yeah,
something
yeah, and
different.
don't even imagine that that puts me into some kind of cool spot like our super warriors that are getting they're in combat right now doing real Marine stuff. I do artwork, right? So I know where that is contextually, right? But in my context, in my little corner, which is not by any means the most important part, and I'm not an important Marine, but to share that piece of legacy with somebody else and to see, you know, hardcore badass combat vets there being able to be a part of that, being able to put their name on something that's going to last forever, that's special, man. When you get to see other warriors who have your respect, right, who have your gratitude, being able to share in something with you as a unit again, right? Because the idea of the Marine Corps, even though some of us stand out for different reasons, and this was cool to have as a reason to stand out, so much better when you share it. It's
Absolutely.
so much better when you share it,
Oh yeah.
you know. And I needed to be where I'm at with ego to be able to appreciate that.
Yeah, bro. Well, hey man, you know what? We almost got to get out of here. Before we do,
Yeah.
where would people go find your art, and if they want to buy it, you know, want to
Mhm.
get some of
Yep.
their own, where's the best place for
So
them to
the
reach out
easiest
to you?
thing to do. Oh, sorry, brother.
No, no.
The easiest thing to do is to just jump on to my Facebook page, which is Fantom with an F, right? Fantom Squirrel Howell. Fantom Squirrel's one word. There's not another one. So like Fantom Squirrel, you'll find it. You know, just with an
Yes.
F. Yeah, it'll come up. Or Valkyrie Artworks, right? Is our official deal, but you'll get invited to all that stuff. We've got a Valkyrie page somewhere out there on the web, and it's just not complete. Like, you know, like a lot of stuff, the thing that matters to me most is trigger time, right? And so I want to be in front of the canvas as much as possible. So anytime I've had to prioritize, it hasn't been to making those things easy to navigate. So the coolest thing to say is that we can do anything and we'll do anything you want. We'll paint you anything. We
Hell
donate
yeah.
all the time. We donate to veteran causes all the time. Like
And he
we
has
do stuff like that.
amazing talent, guys. I'm telling you, go through and check out his stuff. I mean, there's so much out there too. He mass produces. It's crazy. Like you are a legit machine, bro.
I appreciate that. But one of the easiest things you can do, and this is not to brag, you can go to Fantom Squirrel or to Valkyrie and search the word sold. And that'll just
Perfect.
bring up the stuff that's
All
sold.
this
That's not
stuff.
even everything
Yep.
we have. But yeah, you'll see. Yeah, yeah. It's I could brag about it.
And it's from all
I
over.
could.
I mean, he's done anything
Yeah.
from animals to people to sports. I mean, Jesus. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I've,
Oh
I've
yeah.
I've seen it all, bro. So, he
Yeah.
he he definitely doesn't shy away from anything, brother. I'm more than happy to call you one of my brothers and a proud sponsor of Every Day's a Saturday, and you
Oh
know,
yeah.
as well as Every Day's a Saturday sponsor, for you know Valkyrie
It
Artworks
works
as
both
well.
ways.
So
Yeah.
yeah, 100%, man. And you know, we always got each other's backs. We could probably do another show, no doubt. We
Yep.
probably will be doing another one. We do have some stuff lined up for the future. We're gonna probably do a live with him actually painting. A couple
Oh
of
yeah.
us gonna be on there trying to do some auction, win some money, you know, get some money so we can donate some money to causes and things like that. So we definitely have some great things in the works. Is there any little quick thing you want to say before we head out, brother?
I just want to say two things that my granddad, or one thing that my granddad always said that stuck with me forever. I'm trying to get it on the back of a shirt somewhere. I don't even care if we make money on it. Excuses shelter the weak. A warrior can find no refuge in them, right? That has stayed in my mind my whole life. And then the Valkyrie modus operandi is always outnumbered, never outgunned. And that's just something that I take from the Marine Corps. It's to tell me that that a Marine is never outnumbered, even when alone without a weapon, right? And that reminds me of the power that we're meant to bring to the planet as Marines, and Semper Fi till we die. It's just been an honor, brother. I'm so happy that we have a good friendship, and I love you. And to all the listeners out there, you mentioned Brian's podcast and you get a severe discount. So please do so.
Thank you so much, brother. And once again, appreciate you, and much love and much respect to you, dog. I'll be right back there with you in a second.
Hell yeah. Semper Fi till we die.
All right, friends and family, that's going to knock it out for another great interview with another great, amazing human. I love Don. He's just a man. I love the relationship we have built up. He's just an amazing dude. And like I said, I love watching his lives when he's out there painting and doing his stuff. That's when he's in his zone. That's probably like his just, you're probably catching Don at his greatest time when he's just in there, just going, letting loose and putting his art on the canvas. But we appreciate everyone out there. Continue to love the show. Keep showing all the love. We appreciate you guys. Share it out. We'll see you guys all. And you know how we say on the show, don't let the day kick your ass. Make sure you're out there kicking it. Until next time, we'll see y'all.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.